Hi, I'm Marc Duchen. I'm running for Austin City Council in District 10. I think it's challenging because we've tried to densify for the last 20 plus years, and yet we haven't seen the results translated to housing affordability. I think the city has a lot of tools in its toolbox to address this issue, but unfortunately, we haven't been successful or really had the time or initiative to address a lot of those potential solutions. And when I think of that, I think you've got upzoning in one category, but you've also got things like community land trusts. You've got institutional investors buying single family homes over families. So essentially, families buying them versus Wall Street. You've got short term rentals, which could create many dwelling units because we really don't enforce the vast majority of our rentals. And there are other cities that have already passed policies that have passed the courts that we can help follow. You've got reforming permitting and inspections, particularly for small to medium sized buildings. So the bottom line is we've got plenty of tools in the toolbox. We've just always been in the upzoning category, certainly for the last 8 years. And when I talked to council at the end of last year about short-term rentals, they said, "Oh, we'll get to it in 2024." But here we are, almost three-quarters of the way through the year, and we haven't yet touched on that issue. So my concern and my certainly hope, my aspiration as a council member is that we can start to explore all of the options that we've got available to us to try and address housing and housing affordability. One other one that I'll throw out there is we've had a lot of concerns about sprawl, and that's one reason that there has been this push for density, but there are environmentally friendly neighborhoods that are being built out in East Austin. If you ran transit out there, if you had something like buses that ran every 10 to 15 minutes, so-called BRT, bus rapid transit. If you had a green line, for instance, that extended out there, we could potentially build more affordable homes because that's where currently the land is inexpensive. Those homes, for instance, Whispering Valley is a neighborhood that's powered by a lot of geothermal power. And if we had smart design of less urban neighborhoods, then I think you could also find ways to get $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes in the market that our firefighters and police and nurses and teachers and so on could afford and be part of this community. So the bottom line is plenty of options on the table. We just need both public engagement to remind council that there are various options that we could explore and pursue, as well as the will from the council and political will from the community to go explore and pursue those options. I'm a very data driven person. My business for the last 8 years was focused on data targeting. I was a former research director, so I'm very much about the data. And if the data suggests that there's going to be the ridership or the volume of people to warrant expanding or widening a road or creating a pedestrian opportunity there, then or cycling or whatever that is, I think we should pursue it. I think it should be driven by metrics, though. And so ensuring that we've got whatever traffic impact analyses, whatever other studies that we've got that can show, yes, this is the opportunity. We're going to seize on it. This is going to create the level of density or ridership or appropriate transit options that can match for what people need in that area and what they're willing to use. Our challenge in District 10 is that we have very few other transit options. We've got really three bus lines, one to Tarrytown, one to Jollyville, and one to Northwest Hills. And that's really it. And so, for instance, I mentioned buses that might run every 10 to 15 minutes, bus rapid transit. If you had some east-west line options that ran throughout the city that could move people in a different way rather than just north to south, I think that would be one solution that we could have that would help people in the district, because I do feel like there is the density, certainly around MOPAC in District 10, that we could have more transit options. I think another option I'll throw out there is on-demand transit. I think that would be an option that could help move people, particularly for last mile solutions for Project Connect or busing. That's one thing that I think is currently a gap in our transit policy right now. And so I'd love to see more on-demand transit. I'd love to see the CAT Metro pickup service that currently just serves Tarrytown in my district expand it to other neighborhoods if we've, again, got the data and ridership to support that mode of transportation. So again, data-driven solutions, making sure that we are exploring the full breadth of transit options and making sure that we can move people and get vehicles off the roads. And if I had to list criteria, it's going to be what's economical, what's flexible, and what's quick to deploy. And right now, again, I would say buses, on-demand transit, those fit the bill for things that we can start to get vehicles off the road soonest. And so I'd love to make sure that our transit policy includes the full breadth of options that we could really we could pursue that could be implemented in an economical, flexible, and immediate way. We've invested a lot in homelessness over the last 6 years, and I'm not sure that we always have the best results to show for that investment. I think our challenge is really trying to make sure that we've got the best data to show our dollars are creating value in the right ways. For instance, right now we've heavily invested in permanent supportive housing, or PSH. And PSH is the most expensive way to serve homeless folks. And where it's really creates value for that population group is particularly with people that have so-called comorbidities, people that have mental health issues, people that are suffering from substance abuse issues, people that have family dynamic issues. And so those are the folks that wind up consuming a disproportionate amount of resources in the healthcare system and the criminal justice system and so on. And so making sure that we are triaging appropriately, that we're delivering services and case management and to that community of people, to me, is the priority. I think there are other models we could also pursue that would potentially be a lot more economical than what the city has currently chosen to do. I'm thinking of a program in Houston called New Hope Housing. It houses about 1,600 people in permanent supportive housing rooms. And what's interesting about that program is two things. Unlike some of our local programs here, they will take anybody as long as you apply for a federal housing tax credit. And so making sure that we've got programs that anybody, literally anybody, regardless of their length of time they've been on the street, so-called chronically homeless people, regardless of their status as having various comorbidities, anybody can apply as long as they're willing to sign the paperwork to qualify for federal housing tax credits, which help pay for the operations, which is the crucial part. So they are raising money philanthropically for capital costs, which are prohibitive in Austin, given, again, the housing affordability and land value issues we have here. And then they're paying for operations through federal housing tax credits. So they're able to do that at scale. They've been in business for 25 years. They're adding, I think, 500 or 600 new units in the next 1 or 2 years. They operate about 10 or 11 campuses, each with 100 to 150 rooms. And so it's a model that Houston has found incredibly successful. It's helped a tremendous amount of people. And I think bringing that kind of expertise and bringing those sort of models that we know have been validated and work in other places is going to be essential to making sure that we are spending our money wisely here in Austin for homelessness and that we are serving the people that need the help in the capacity they need. I think there are going to be some degree of homelessness that are always going to need some sort of government help, and that's what the government is there for, to make sure that we can serve people and make sure we can create good in this world, but we've got to do it right, and we've got to do it in the most economical way possible. And right now, I haven't always seen the city do that. We ran an audit 3 years ago. It showed how much money we were spending, but it didn't connect it to outcomes, versus the dashboard that Echo and the city runs, which shows things like system flow and how many beds we've got and how many shelter beds that we've got, but doesn't connect it to dollars spent. And so in my mind, the next step forward is to make sure we can marry that information together so that we can get good data about what's working, what's not, continue what works, and fix what could be more successful.